I've been very lucky. The group that I've kind of grown up around has been kind of generational when it comes to Irish rugby. Very lucky I can call a lot of them my close friends.
Tell me about working under Rassie.
Is he as nuts as he comes across?
Yeah, he's completely mental, like, yeah.
Hypothetically, in another world, you have to go and play for Leinster.
But it's not going to happen.
Stupid questions. Have you seen Sam Kane since 2022?
I met him and I said, how was the farm like? And I've just figured out, I thought you were asking me how the farm was. He was like, do I give him the amount of cattle I have or what? Like, well, what does he want to know?
If R360 is, in inverted commas, loading, how far into 100% are you?
80%.
But hypothetically, right, listen, if we're going to do it, you would...
Have you?
I'm out of bullets, I'm afraid, Pete. You've got to get to that one first. What a brilliant way to start Season 6 of The Good, The Bad and The Rugby.
Alex Payne trying to keep the side going forward. Haskell takes it on now with just relentless chat. And there's Tindall to add the finishing touch of glamour and World Cup winning stories. A dominant display by the good, the bad and the rugby.
Hello, Dream Team. I hope you've summered well. It is lovely to be back. For Season 6 of The Good, The Bad and The Rugby, we have a very special guest this week to get us up and running. But first of all, the other two are back. Haskintons are in the building.
Hello.
How are you, Michael?
I'm very well, actually, thank you.
Good.
I'm slightly worse where I went to Oasis last night, so I'm sorry if I sound like I'm on like -1 speed.
Arriving for a new season, fit, fresh and ready to fire.
Normally on 1.5 times.
Yeah, 1.5. I'm reverse 1.5. Yeah, I'm 0.5. Yeah, normal speed.
We have got so much to look forward to over a brand new season. We have got so much to get into in this, our first show of the season, and we'll start with a very warm welcome to a legend in Ireland. Peter Romani, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
First time in a long time without having a pre-season. How's it been?
Yeah, it's been great. I didn't have any longing to be getting stuck into what I saw, hill runs and boxing and swimming. There was a bit alternative pre-season done in Munster this year, so I was happy enough to be down in West Cork and drinking pints of Murphy's.
Good on you. Yeah. Very nice to have you on the show, and we'll get into your career, your views on what's to come over the next season, of course. But should we start with a massive welcome back and thank you?
Yes, and thank you. Continental Tyres are the official tyre partner to England Rugby, engineered for victory. Their award-winning tyres are built to perform no matter the conditions.
Let's
should we do some
back to the
congratulations?
rugby. Yeah, I think I was at the game on Saturday, so massive congratulations to the Red Roses. I was a bit worried, at the start, and then with how fast Canada started, how slow England had started through the whole tournament. But yeah, they just showed their class towards the end, and
some brilliant.
The crowd is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean, they stayed for. And I was trying to figure out whether a crowd would stay that long if it would have been the Men's World Cup in England. Well, I know it's a home one, but I reckon that half an hour there would have still been 82,000 people there.
Yeah,
it was bonkers. But yeah,
proper celebration. Well done, Skaz. Well done, Mo, as well. They've actually put out some amazing content over the last 6 weeks too. So if you haven't, go back and have a little listen to the Good, the Skaz, and the Rugby in that department. Well done, the Red Roses, as you said. We've touched on the fact already we have got an incredible season lined up. We've got the Rugby Championship at the moment, probably the best it's been in a number of years. That's got a thrilling finale to come. The G Brands boys going well down under. The rebranded Prem Rugby is up and running. England men face the Wallabies in just under a month. The Wallabies are back and burning bright. A lot to cheer about domestically in Europe and looking ahead to the autumn as well. There is, of course, one small fat elephant in the room as well.
That's Tom, the producer. That's not.
That is brutal, and that should be taken out.
No, sorry, but
that is.
I'm so confused.
Yeah,
no. Oh, that was what
it actually is in the form of a question, which is R360. No one said anything, really, but a lot of people are writing a lot, if you know what I mean.
Unless we pay you.
That's such a good idea. I think it's really useful for the game. But at the moment, I'm getting the impression you're trying to fuck Alex and I out of it, and we're not getting cut in.
No,
so
not now.
I'm going to start becoming a vocal spokesman against it.
He's already asked for Pete's number as well. Yeah, can we do some work on what is happening, Michael?
It's just more world-class back rows retiring, which makes you more obsolete.
I'm further down the pecking order.
Yeah, don't avoid the question. What is happening in the world of R360?
Everything's going well at the moment. If you think about it, we weren't.
It's not what we're reading in the papers.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Everything.
Umming and ahhing and oohing and ahhing. What's happened with the World Rugby sanctioning?
So the World Rugby sanctioning thing is they're not allowed to not sanction you unless there's a legitimate reason.
Right.
So, but then when you get into the question marks around what is in that sanction process, so you hand in 150 pages of paper, but then they'll come back with 40 questions. But it might be, who are your doctors? Who are your your backroom medical staff, who's your head of
Groundsman.
physio, groundsman.
Who's on the mower.
Currently in negotiations. That'd be a great gig travelling.
That's what I mean. He just oversees to make sure all the pitches are in line.
But obviously, you
200
can't
grand a
if you don't have those answers there and then. That is a
that?
legitimate reason for them not to sanction you. So you have to. It doesn't matter when you go. Obviously, they only meet twice a year, which is dead handy. So in June, you can put all that stuff in, and as long as you hit everything that you need, then you can advance through. So it was a way of us making sure that there wasn't a reason that they could say we were unsanctioned.
So if R360 is, in inverted commas, loading, how far into 100% are you?
I would say, well, that's actually quite a hard question to do. 80%.
Okay.
Because, 70-80%.
Whoa, it's gone down by 10% there.
Yeah. Well, it
60,
depends
70?
how you're going to split it all up. There's a lot in there.
Let's go 75. Let's go 62, 75, 51, 40, 75.
It's in
That's
a
what
good. Let's just say it's in a good
It's in a
position.
good
It's a good place, yeah. Leave it now.
The frustrating thing is how no one's really thought about with the shoe on the other foot of how it could help. Like all the older guard are just saying it always comes back down to tradition. You need what people want to see in rugby is a traditional fan base. Well, no, they don't, because it doesn't work in the Premiership. You launched the Prem on the Thursday with Sale in a half-empty stadium, and it wasn't a great game of rugby. Now there were great games of rugby throughout the weekend, but you can't say that it's in an amazing spot. People like Tony Rowe down in Exeter came out and sort of bashed it. Yet he's put a load of money into the club, taking it to the top, then it's all collapsed, and so his way
seeking investment, I think. As well.
So his way hasn't worked either. So all I'm trying to say is, surely there's got to be a different way of looking at it, and why doesn't people go, actually, let's have a look? Because we're not touching anything that's in the game already, so anything that comes in is new money. But they're going, well, why shouldn't it come to us? Because you just spunk it.
Yeah.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
So
Is that an official term?
It is, yeah.
That's a Haas gave me that line.
It's a business,
earlier.
yeah.
But we're looking
Business
forward
jargon
to.
you wouldn't understand.
We're looking forward to the next 2 months, because that's 2-3 months, because that's when hopefully all our ducks should be in a line, and then there'll be a gradual feed out over the next 3 months.
Is there going to be pipes, fanfare, dry ice, smoke, music? We're good to go, or is it going to be a kind of gentle filtering into the? At what point do you press the lights and say this is now happening?
No, it'd be a gentle filtering with then a proper official launch when the time is right. If you think about it, if no one had leaked that doc or the deck that we did, then we wouldn't be planning on saying anything anyway till now. So it's just the fact that we've had to drag that through July that came out or whatever, which has been a bit frustrating, because then you're chasing everything, and you allow the media just start reading into it whatever they want. But that's what we've got to put up with, and to just keep focusing on what we're doing.
Okay, so nothing official to say, but there might be something official in due course.
Yeah. Our plan was always going to be October, November, December would be when things started coming out with a launch date, probably early next year. But so we're on our schedule, but obviously it's hard when people are filling space in between.
Yeah.
I sort of don't know any more than I did at the start.
No, a lot of words.
A lot of good words out there. It was very political, that.
Yeah.
But it could happen.
Might happen.
Should do. Probably, maybe.
Don't say anything until it's firmed up.
I agree with that.
Don't confirm.
We've proved in rugby before where you speak about bright lights of a big city, and then it doesn't
or you launch it and it blows up within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like Rugby X, the 10s, the 12s, the
13s,
9s, the 7s, the other games.
Rugby 3
every new iteration that's fallen apart.
It does show that there's no sector that doesn't have moles and bastards you can't trust.
There you go.
It's everywhere. It's unbelievable.
Do you know who has leaked it?
No.
Can you not put a kind of
so many people have seen that old deck. So even that deck isn't true to what will come to pass, because it's so old. But you just don't know who leaked. I mean, the madness of like being in Australia and the NRL, and how they found out meetings that were had out there or not had, it was incredible. It's like every coffee shop knew who everyone was, and they just ring up and do something around it.
You made some good money out of it.
Some people would say selling your friends out isn't a good idea. I'd say it is.
As long as it was profitable for you.
Yeah, of course it's profitable. I'll give you 10% back.
Pete, quick question. Welcome to retirement.
Yeah.
R360, good idea or bad?
Well, I think, look, you've made some very good arguments that rugby needs something different, like, doesn't it? It's, as healthy as it is in Ireland at the moment, it's struggling across the world, and there's aspects in Irish rugby that need to be fixed as well. So, there has to be some good in it. There has to be, and we need people with money. That you see where I don't think rugby's ever going to get to soccer levels, but you see where it's going to with that sport, and has been. Rugby needs investment, and it needs something different with regard to how, I suppose, supporters and fans are brought in, and something like this is, I think, potentially has a lot of good in it.
We will be talking more about R360 later in the year, and in fact there is a good chapter on R360 in our new book, Hask, signed copies of which are available. The Good, the Bad and the Rugby Unloaded, now available to pre-order.
Unloaded.
Unlocked, reloaded. Yeah. Good, I'm glad we got the title right.
Yeah, we checked.
What is our new book actually called?
It's called Reloaded.
It's called Reloaded. Take 3. Signed copies of which, the book is called The Good, the Bad and the Rugby Re-Unloaded. Is what he's now putting.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Good. Unreloaded, unreloaded. Yeah, right. The Good, the Bad and the Rugby. Oh, for fuck's sake. It's week 1, for God's sake. The Good, the Bad and the Rugby Reloaded, now available at Waterstones. We're also going on tour at the end of this month. Hask,
yeah, we are
do
going
some
on
reading.
Tour. Yeah, we are. The Lock-in Live is hitting these cities and towns: Warwick, Cardiff, Birmingham, Oxford, Reading and Guildford. It is going to be a one-stop shop, stories, behind-the-scenes stuff we can't put on the podcast because we've become a giant commercial entity, and producer Tom is very vicious with the editing, so we're going to tell you all the bits and pieces. Tins might reveal more about R360. I doubt it. We'll probably talk about some of the things that happened in Australia.
It will be heard here first when the timing is right.
Yeah, the things that happened in Australia when, we'll leave it for the tour, but there was some interesting activities. A few things fell off. Wheels fell off a couple of times. So we'll share those as well.
Please jump into our comments section. Give us a like, give us a review, and make sure you hit that button and subscribe.
How is life now? Are you retired, etc.? Was that a very easy decision? Was it sort of something you deliberated over? Where are you on planet Earth right now?
Yeah, I had a bit of time. There was kind of obviously there was a bit of kind of question marks over after the World Cup what my plan was, and I took a bit of time after that. I did need to kind of reassess and see whether I had, the big thing for me was, did you have the go to keep going, and I did. I said I my body felt good, and I would have, my big decision was made over would I have missed it if I hadn't played that year, and looking back, I would have definitely. I loved last year. I loved, Andy asking me to captain the team. All that kind of stuff wouldn't have happened if I didn't. So it was a good decision, and I'm delighted I got to decide that myself. And decide when I finish myself. Most guys, as we well know, are either broken up or fucked out of the game. You know what I mean? One or the other. And I was lucky enough to get my chance to say, no, I'm going to finish. And I'm very happy with the decision.
What does the day-to-day look like now? Are you back in a massive way into childcare, and we know how much you love your gardening, etc.? Are you looking for the next thing?
Yeah, I'm meeting lots of people about stuff. I'm not making any big calls on exactly what I'm going to get into, but certainly doing the school runs more often. Bumping into new faces. People are wondering, Jesus, I didn't realise his kids went to school here.
Do you get nosed off at the school gates?
I don't really. I kind of throw the kids out the door and drive off.
Yeah.
They're at a good age now.
Don't make eye contact.
Wheels don't stop.
Just drop, go, run.
Yeah. No, it's keep going. It's great. It's great to be around. Like, it's, as I said to you at the start, I spent a lot of time away from home. I missed a lot of kind of big moments in the family. So it's good to be able to spend a bit of time with them. You know what I mean? Proper time. I don't want to go back to working 50 hours a week. No. Like, you know what I mean? I like the fact now that I'm doing some speaking stuff, some leadership stuff, that I can pick and choose my schedule and be at home, but still, you know what I mean, have some stuff that I'm into and enjoy.
Is there something we don't know that you're really into? Like, you've got a secret passion?
No, I think my passion is fairly well documented. Yeah.
Would you go into that as an actual job though? Like, would you set up? If you've got a business, would you set up a landscaping business? Would you do that?
We're in the middle of setting up a business with some gardening products and that kind of stuff. So that'll be coming down the line,
Where does
hopefully.
that passion come from?
I think my grandmother on my mum's side she had a nice garden when we were younger. It wasn't very big, but I remember the gardener coming over when she was too old to look after it, and that was the greatest day of the week. Like, you know, he'd come over and I'd give him a hand, he'd loan me use some tools or whatever. And then as I got a bit older, I was like one of the kids going around the park cutting people's grasses, like, you know what I mean, driving the lawnmower around, or walking it around back then. And I used to look after a couple of guys who played for Munster Ireland. There was one of Frankie Sheehan lived around the corner from me, so I used to cut his grass, and he was too tight to pay me cash, so he used to give me gear, which was, to be fair, worth way more than the cash he could have given me at the time. You know what I mean? So I've always loved it. I've always loved the kind of physical side to the work, as well as the kind of finished product looking well as well. Yeah.
I always thought you did it because it just kept the voice in your head at bay. Like, otherwise you'd be out kept murdering people. And he just
It's like Danny Grukog.
Yeah.
He tended his garden just to bury the bodies.
It was like you had to do it, otherwise you'd just go on a rampage. You just calm, just go feck this, and just like mowing it. Just keep himself calm. That's what I just make that up. That's what I thought it was, just like a stress reliever.
No, I think it definitely ended up being that for me. I think it was kind of unknown since the start of my career. It was good for me, and then I was kind of going, I kind of feel better after this. You know what I mean? In the later part of your career, when you're exactly right.
what it is. You know, mow a lawn.
But has it opened up a bit of a vulnerability for you as well? Because I mean, we've had guests on the past who said you've tasered your kids for running around on the lawn, and Jess has to walk up certain stripes and knock down the others. And I know Bundy Aki took a golf club.
Sean O'Brien used to throw gravel on it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Does that mess with the equilibrium?
Oh, it does. Yeah, it pisses me off. No, well, the kids and Jess, that's horseshit. To be fair, no, I love the fact the kids playing it.
He says
the problem is now all the kids want to come in there. All the kids are like, "Well, I'll go to your dad's place and play because the surface is immaculate." Yeah, it's great, car. Not like, but sorry, no, Bundy digging a hole in it or fucking Shawnee throwing stones in it would piss me off no end. But Bundy was lucky. It was kind of the end of winter, so it wasn't looking great at the time anyway.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we were talking actually before we started rolling just about the difference, I suppose, in not your career with someone like Johnny Sexton, but I suppose in the ask that your career required of you. So Johnny, you mentioned, lived 5 minutes from training with Leinster and 10 minutes from training with Ireland. I've got a quote here from you in the Irish Times saying, "I'm living in Cork, so I commute to Limerick. The Cork to Limerick road is something I won't miss, to be honest with you. It's a tortuous bastard road. The government should really pull their thumb out and sort out that road. I obviously spent a lot of time in Dublin with Ireland too. So, I've been away from home for a fair bit over the last kind of 15 years. I think I need to spend a bit more time at home with young kids who are getting to the age now where they're asking questions of why I'm going out the door again. It's time to give a bit back there, and they've sacrificed a lot for me." Do you feel that the career perhaps has asked a lot of you, of Jess, of time away from home, etc.? Was that ever a problem, a challenge for you, or was it just you're quite comfortable doing what needed to be done?
It certainly was. It certainly asked a lot of me and the family, but I've haven't worked a day in my life. You know what I mean? To this point, I loved the game. I was brought up in the club, and I've played for the province I grew up in and the country I grew up in, so I would never have considered it, a job per se. But I mean, it was demanding, it was stressful. It was, as I said, a lot of time away from home, a lot of time away from family, and that was the sacrifice that I committed to. And I think Jess knew what the story was, as it came down the line. But we've also had I've had an unbelievable career. We've both had incredible experiences. We've both incredible friends made out of rugby. I'm heading away on Thursday with Johnny, Cian Healy, Conor Murray, and all the girls are going to Paris for a few nights. The rugby lads and girls, some of the closest people I have to me, and that would be the main thing that I take out of it. I'm sure you both the exact same as spoken of before. The people you come across are what make the game so special. And I've been very lucky. The the group that I've kind of grown up around has been kind of generation when it comes to Irish rugby.
Yeah.
And very lucky I can call a lot of them my close friends.
Can you explain a little bit about the connection that you have with Munster? And I'm thinking back to those glorious years in the Heineken Cup. Lucky enough to work with Rog this summer out in Australia on the Lions. He spoke a lot about there is an extraordinary connection between the players who play for Munster, the province, and the fans, etc. Leinster, obviously, a machine. They're the most professional sort of outfit out there, but it's sort of it is a machine. Whereas there is a much more emotional story around Munster. Is that? Do you recognise that? Do you feel a connection with Munster that perhaps players who play for other provinces don't necessarily feel?
I would always argue we're very lucky that we generate a lot of our players in Ireland through academies and through where they're from. A big chunk of them. We've often fielded teams from Munster that would have nearly everybody from the province playing, like who have come up through a school or a club or whatever. And I think that has to stand to you when you're pulling on a jersey that you've grown up in that area and now you're representing the people from there. It has to mean a little bit more to you. And that's no disrespect to people who play for teams that aren't from the area. But what I'm saying is I felt that gave me a little bit of an edge when I pulled on the jersey. I'm representing the people who are either side of me in the houses, who are down the road, you know what I mean? And the province, it feels like it's very, very special to me to do that. And I think I'm not saying people from Connacht don't have the same feeling. I'm sure they do, but I think Irish rugby benefits from that aspect of the way we produce players.
Where do you think you left Munster? Where are Munster now as a team and a province?
Obviously, they have a new coach and a kind of a new manager, new coach, new strength and conditioning guys. Perennial Leams are still there. They're the kind of they're the constant for them at the moment, which is great to have them. Also, grew up in Munster, so it's great to have them there. Heard great things. I've met Clayton a couple of times, and he seems like a great man. And the squad they have, while there was a lot of experience left, there's some incredibly good players there. Squads are getting smaller. I did notice that looking at it now at the start of the season, but hopefully injury wise, if we stay fit, we can compete with lots of teams. But
tell me about that Munster environment that you stepped into, though, because you mentioned Paul O'Connell, obviously you mentioned Frankie Sheehan, Rog, etc. Do you remember stepping in as a young kid to that setup and what it meant?
Yeah, I do. It was very daunting because I had followed Munster since I was small. My dad used to travel all over Europe to watch them, and the heartache that went on. And then not too far after the 6 and 8, I finished school in 8, I started in the academy then. The end of that school year, I was in the academy, and so all of a sudden, 2010, you get your first cap, and my mum was kind of saying, you might want to take the posters down off the walls. If you're going playing with all these fellas, it might get a bit embarrassing if they find out.
Whose posters did you have on the wall?
I had this 06 and 08 team, the team that beat Gloucester in the miracle match. I had loads of any call-outs. I used to tip the dates of the games into my desk and stuff.
Amazing.
And then you go into this dressing room that was gnarly and nasty, and you know what I mean? No holds barred.
And were you gnarly and nasty when you arrived, or did you have to get gnarly and nasty quite quick?
I didn't say boot anyone, you know what I mean? You wouldn't have. You get the head taken off you. They were a tough group of people, you know what I mean?
Led by
O'Connell, Quinlan's, Wallace's, you name it. They were hard men, Dunkirk Allens, Mick O'Driscoll's. That is just the pack, where I was kind of, then you would guys like Ruud Tupoki and Maffey, these guys all around that area. Unbelievable players, and then you're going, this is fairly daunting. And then not too long afterwards, you're kind of you captain the team here. I'm there going, are you serious? But I think I remember meeting Paulie before I kind of made my first cap, and he said, I like the way you're carrying on, and not directly on about leadership stuff, but I'd like you to jump here in the line out down the line, so you need to practice on this and that kind of thing. So, you know, people obviously saw something in me that they liked, but at the same time, for me, it was still day by day. This is all a bit mad and trying to keep your head above the water. You know what I mean?
And at what point in your Munster career did you begin to feel comfortable and think this is actually where I'm meant to be?
I don't know if I ever felt comfortable. Like, obviously, I felt like I belonged to a group, like at different stages, but it was always, and especially when you're in the leadership group, you're not just worried about your own performance. You're worried about, we need a new nutritionist. Like, you know what I mean? Are we getting the right person? The food isn't good enough at the moment. I need to get on to someone about sorting out, like, do we need to talk to the company, or do we need... So it's when you're the other side of when you're growing up, when you're playing in a club where you're from, you kind of have this, I suppose, kind of encapsulating worry about the whole thing. It's not just about Saturday and how you play. It's about how other people are feeling. You know, what are they doing? Are they looking after the academy lads well enough? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Who's coming through for us? Like, so it's, I felt the responsibility to kind of look after all that kind of stuff, be it rightly or wrongly. Sometimes I probably did that too much and didn't worry about my own game a bit. But I remember ringing Paulie one day, said like, that we were letting a couple of strength and conditioning guys go, and they were some of the best in the world, and we've went on to do incredible stuff. I was there, how are we letting these people go? He said, well, did you go into the fucking CEO's office and say it to him, like, you know what I mean? Because that's part of your response. I was going, is it really, like? But he was like, well, if you're in, you're in, like, so you've got to go and have these conversations. So that was the other side to the kind of pressure and the responsibility you take on in that kind of an environment.
You've worked with some unbelievable coaches there as well. Can I ask you? Well, actually, I was going to ask about Rassie, but Axel first of all. When you look back at that day now and about the man that he was in a Munster shirt, is it still raw and almost hard to believe?
Yeah, it is. It's tough to talk about because he was like he grew up through that team that I loved to bits, and the successful teams. You know what I mean? The European Cups, obviously. And then he was my first coach. So my first Munster, or his first coaching role was my team. I never played with him, but he coached me. It was his first coaching gig, Munster under-20s. First game, we won 3-0 in Thomond Park.
Wow.
He was...
Straight to DVD production.
Ear-to-ear smiles.
Really?
Yeah. What a performance, he said to me afterwards. You know? Delighted with life. But look, yeah, it was an awful time in the club, you know, and something that should never happen to any, group of people, not mind young people or whatever way you want to look at it, and obviously his family, Jesus, whatever, but us, you know what I mean, the kids and Olive were obviously the most important people to us after it happened, but yeah, look, it was an awful time for the club and Irish rugby.
I always find with rugby, when tragedy happens, it really refocuses the mind about what the best things about rugby, what the best things about rugby are, and the family side of it. So did it really do that for the club at the same time? Whilst I know everyone's probably grieving at the same time. Did it sort of pull it back to
I think it definitely
put
stuff into perspective for people, you know. Even for me, around that time in my career, I was still quite young and everything was about rugby for me, and then I kind of went, fuck, this is crazy, like, is it? Axel was under a huge amount of pressure the previous year, and then Rassie came in, and the bizarre thing was Axel was kind of back to himself, like he was back to coaching, and he looked like he had a lot less stress on him, so that's why it was even more kind of shocking, really. But it does, of course, things like that put things into perspective for everyone, and it did galvanise us. It did, everything we did around those years, and we still talk about them now. And after big games, we have a thing we do about Axel, and he's always going to be part of the club. After what he did and put into the club.
Amazing. It's just sort of part of that extraordinary connection between the players and the people and the history of Munster. Tell me about working under Rassie. How you found that as an experience?
Yeah, it was great. Like, what a coach.
Is he as nuts as he comes across?
Yeah, he's completely mental. Like, yeah, yeah, he is. He's mad. But he was exactly what we needed at the time in Munster. We were a little bit, obviously, like, when he came in, Axel was there, and then obviously when Axel passed, we were completely lost, and like, he hadn't really planned on coaching at all. He was like, even when Axel was there, he was up in the HBC, and he'd look on from, he wouldn't be on the pitch even. And then Axel passed away, and Rassie had to take the forwards, and but he was just at the exact coach that we needed at the time. We needed someone to kind of get rid of some of the bullshit that was in the club, and then he went hard at basics. He went hard at, people turning up to training properly, that kind of stuff, and he was just the tonic that Munster needed at the time. I think he was brilliant. Unbelievably different way of going about things. You compare him to, Joe Schmidt and Andy Farrell, someone, completely different character, but for incredibly impressive style.
In what kind of way though? Because I've never worked with them, so obviously I've done, Joe I've met a few times, obviously not been coached by him, but Andy Farrell we obviously know. What makes him different? I always wondered that, because you see the stuff on the camera. He's obviously a smart operator. He's obviously gets the political game right. He gets the motivational game right. He's got South Africa kind of in the palm of his hand. Like, yeah. No player's bigger than the team. But what was it like in terms of? Well,
for me, he did a couple of things. He takes a huge amount of pressure off players. You know what I mean? So he'll take all the media pressure off you. There'll be zero media pressure on you, because he'll be either creating hassle on it, or you know what I mean. So it'll be all directed at him. Or if there's a loss, he'll take it on the nose, right. But he'll then go into the dressing room and dish it out. You know what I mean? Right. And he'll sort it out, but he'll take all the media pressure off you. The other thing is his emotional side of kind of winding you up for stuff is incredibly good. You know what I mean? He'll have stories that happened to him in his career. He'll have experiences. He'll have he'll go on about. And I've heard some of the stuff that he's said to the South Africans, in some of their documentaries, like that he used with us as well. Incredibly powerful stories and stuff that you couldn't but, react to in a positive way. But at the same time, very, I compare him, and he'd compare him to Johan, say, like, Johan had a very open door policy. Rassie's door was firmly closed. Like, unless,
oh really?
Yeah. Okay. It was, you open the door if you've a serious problem. Like, if you haven't, try to sort it out a few times yourself, and then come to me. But he was brilliant, even for us. Like,
was it dictatorial in terms of, like, he was definitely in charge? There
was no question there.
It wasn't that kind of, like you said, the open format. So he basically, this is what we're doing. This is how we do it. You either like it or
you're on board. But. Like, he did stuff like, I remember when he first came in, he said, well, what do you need? What's going on in the club? Like, he set up stuff like family boxes, as good as Munster is at stuff, like, or the relationship, like, say, with some of our partners and stuff, there was no partners boxes, there was no area, so he put on a creche for the guys who had kids, like, first time for all of this, like, and that isn't that long ago. So he was like, lads, what do you need for you to not worry about anything else so you can perform at the weekend? You know what I mean? So I said, well, we need this, that, and the other. Done. I'll sort that. You leave that with me. I'll get that sorted. No training. I'm gonna talk to you about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
no excuses.
No excuses. No bullshit. There was fellas who used to spend time on the sideline with kind of knocks on a Monday who didn't fancy training. Like, so he kind of put a tag on them basically if you didn't train. And you can see the same policy with South Africa. If you can't train Monday, like, you're not available for selection for the week. Like, so you either rock up Monday, whether you're 60% or 70%, if you're not on the pitch, like, for us, same at Munster, you're not being selected for us, like, you know what I mean? So that kind of stopped all that kind of side of it for us. And he was just really, really good timing for us.
You obviously had some amazing days. You stepped into an amazing team, but had some amazing, I think you beat Australia on your debut.
Yeah, it was one of my first games. We beat Australia, yeah.
you won the URC, etc. When you look back now, what were the best days you had in a Munster shirt?
I'd so many good days. I had a lot more bad days in Munster, though, unfortunately.
Do you not hear him off? He was mumbling, going about fucking 12 years, not one silverware, fucking bullshit, saying to us, I was getting the lawnmower out so I could mow the carpet in case someone got
He's
smashed
definitely
up.
having that shirt back because that's the one of the things he only didn't.
That's the most important Munster one I have.
Did you feel frustrated with?
Yeah, I do.
the
I
end of
do. I 100%. And whoever sits in front of you with a career like I have and said they don't have any regrets is lying to you 100%. Like I've loads of regrets. Days that we could have won. There was days we definitely couldn't have won, but I've great memories of Munster. You know what I mean? It's a super club, and we'd loads of kind of like big European stuff. The run into the URC was probably my favourite. Like I think it was 7 games on the bounce we played away from home, probably 4 of them in South Africa. And I think we finished 6th or something like, and then the run in was all away, and as a result of where we finished, we were away for all the knockout games, and that run in for me was one of the most memorable. It was hard. It was winning away from home. We got a draw that was huge for us the second week in South Africa. We came home for a week, went back over for a week for a quarter. It was mad. And then there was days like last year, La Rochelle, we go over and we beat them, who are, the giants of Europe, kind of certainly for the last 3-4 years. We were talking about the Munster support that ended up down there with obviously Raj coaching and Donica coaching. So there was an unbelievable crowd there that day. And we went to Wasps a few years ago. The lads were stuck. We had a big chunk of the squad stuck in South Africa during COVID.
I remember that, yeah.
And we had just come back from Six Nations, and so the Irish players were given the trip away to South Africa off. So they go over, someone gets COVID and they get stuck, and we're going, well, we're kind of on our week off, so we're going, well, what's the story with next week? Like, we'll get a few back. So we come in Monday and we're there with the academy, the Irish lads, and a few kind of national talent squad players that would be brought in from clubs. Not bin juice, but young guys who hadn't got a shot yet. You know what I mean?
You can say it.
Yeah, you say it.
But like, I'm there on a Monday teaching lads how to, you know what I mean, what the calls are.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm playing a European Cup game at the weekend, like, and there's like 7 or 8 of us from the Irish camp, and you have to make up a squad of the rest of guys who hadn't been capped, or certainly had never played European Cup rugby, might have had a handful of caps from Munster, or not been capped at all at any capacity. And we go to Wasps, with the group of us and the young guys, and we win over there. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And there was a lot of that down to the leadership group that week that were left behind because we had no coaches. To be fair, there was a couple of academy coaches stood up, but it was kind of down to us, like. And we go away in Europe and win, like, which is mad, like, you know what I mean? But so days like that are very kind
Did
of.
you manage to keep your cool teaching the youngsters? I
had no choice. I couldn't fuck them out because I know
there was no one else.
But I know you. Like, I know there'd be like a
Bring
tipping
the next
point
guy.
where you'd be
There
like,
isn't another guy.
explain to where the running lines, like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. No, I didn't have that luxury. Unfortunately.
Halfway through training, he's off mowing the lawn.
Yeah. Keep calm. I want to come on to your Ireland career in just a moment. Final question on Munster. Is the current situation between Munster and Leinster a fair fight?
It's like asking me, should there be more people living in Limerick or Cork compared to Dublin?
Is there another way of doing it? What it feels like?
It's a very technical question because, even the club team that I started playing with in Con, there was a big chunk of them had to move to Dublin to get a job, like, you know what I mean? And so they all end up playing for Clontarf a few years later, whereas, we won an All-Ireland League with Con. There's 1.5 million people live in Dublin, like, you know what I mean? There's 500, 600,000 live in Cork, or I don't know what the total capacity of Munster is, but it's a lot less than Dublin. It's not a mind Leinster. So straight away your playing pool is much, much smaller. You've the majority of the wealth in the country is in Dublin. You know what I mean? So then you have schools up there that are being run like rugby academies that you just don't have the capacity to do in Munster at the moment. The club game is being dominated by Leinster because, again, all the players are in Leinster. So our first division has 10 teams. I think 7 or 8 of them this year are all based in Leinster. You know what I mean? So it's a very difficult question. Is it a fair fight?
When you look at the professional setups, it feels. I mean, Archie Snyman moving from Munster to Leinster. You know, Leinster are able to bring in Geordie Barrett and Rico Ioane, etc. I asked the question because 20 years ago it was absolute parity. It now feels that everything slides down to Dublin or up to Dublin at the expense of Munster in some capacity.
Is it not the job of the Irish rugby to sort of be able to not force players on where they want to play, but go, look, because a lot of the time, if a lot of the talent's at Leinster, there's a lot of opportunity either at Connacht or at Munster. And should they not be doing a job of going, we need to get as many Irish qualified players playing regularly for our provinces?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's the allure of, there's so many good players in Leinster, and there has to be a point, I think, where some of them have to say, do I want to play for Ireland or do I want to chase down stuff, or am I happy enough to stay here, potentially get a couple of European Cup medals, which is, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
a nice thing to have on your belt. Or do I go after it and do I go somewhere else and try and chase down a starting spot and potentially play for Ireland? So there's some of it comes back to, like, you can't force anyone to leave. You know what I mean? You can't do that. The RFU are very good with keeping players in Ireland, absolutely, but unless they have an appetite to go as well, you can't force them to go. As the other side of it, like,
what would happen, right? Hypothetically, if, say, when you were playing Munster shut down, and they were like, you have to go and play for Leinster if you otherwise you can't play.
Twitch is coming on again.
What would you do?
Get the lawnmower out.
I like the way you flagged the other side of the coin there.
Yeah,
shut Munster down. You're saying to Pete, he's got to go play for Leinster.
Yeah. What would you do?
It's just
retire.
A stupid question.
No, but also needs an answer.
I don't have to answer.
It's not going to happen.
I'm not 4 years old. I don't have to answer the question.
Yes, a police interview.
Play the game.
You're under caution. Play it. No, hypothetically, they're like, right, listen, Munster's no more. If you want to keep playing for Ireland, you have to play for Leinster, or you can go abroad, but you can't play for Ireland anymore. What would you do?
But it's not going to happen.
This is a jolly mate.
So what you're saying is,
it's a non-event question.
It's not an event question, but hypothetically, in another world, if we're going to do it, you would.
Have you a question?
I'm out of bullets, I'm afraid, Pete. You've got to get to that one first.
No, that's okay.
I think we can read between the lines on that one.
Yes.
Shall we do? You've got a little bit with the Continental Tires grip string, and then we'll do Ireland.
Yeah. So we have a new feature on the show, which is the Continental Tires Grip Strength Challenge. Which of our guests this season will have the strongest grip? Myself, the Lord, and Payno are on the leaderboard to my right. Well, Payno is on it, but somewhere near the bottom. He's in his own category. Pete, let's see what you can do. You've only recently left rugby, so I'm expecting mega things. I mean, he's got a grip strength device. He's just putting it, we said to a 36-year-old man, it's in kgs. You have to squeeze it as hard as you can. It measures how strong your grip is. So he's ready to go.
Take your time.
He's looking pensive, looking angry. And he's going. Oh, he's got big. Oh, he's got big. I think he might go.
That's the
best. Look at that.
72.7 points. That's in at
one. The leaderboard.
He's beaten Payno, which is a shock.
First to break 70.
That is very impressive.
It's like the Top Gear board, is it?
Yeah, it is like Top Gear board. Yeah, except we couldn't afford a car, so we did grip strength.
Unsurprisingly, in the Continental Tires Grip Strength Challenge, Peter O'Mahony goes in at number 1.
And he's beaten us again. In Grand Slams for Ireland, ruining unbeaten
seasons,
match runs, seasons. My last game I played against, we lost and ate to lift the Grand Slam at Twickenham. Just always constantly being beaten by it.
We did decide actually when we were filming this on Friday that if anyone fails to beat me, they have to make a charitable donation.
Yeah. That was my biggest fear, to be honest.
I can see.
That I was,
73 bang.
You can go home a proud man. 113 caps for Ireland. You were always a very emotional man in the anthems. Take us into those minutes before. Were you someone who always found yourself right on the edge? What were the emotional drivers for you pre-game?
Yeah, I would have been. again, it was my anthem, so it was an important one to me. And I used to think of I could never look at the family because then I'd spill over, but I would think of them like how I'd represent them and the kids and stuff, and how if they were looking back at a video, you know what I mean, would I make them proud of watching me play? Like, that was the thought process of it. Like, and then big occasions, being at home and that kind of, So it was an emotive few minutes, but it was just before you were kind of let free. I always thought the first whistle was stress. I used to stress a lot for 24 hours and then kind of stress free then.
Were you someone who got very nervous pre-game? How did that come out?
I was always that way. From the day I got picked for Munster for the first time to the last day I played for Ireland and Munster, it was a nerve-wracking period, the 24 hours leading into a game for me. I used to struggle to eat, nerves, feel sick. Yeah, you name it, I got it. And it doesn't get any easier for young fellas. Who
really?
Feel that. No, I don't think so, no. I used to always say, like, it's kind of half a piss take, but like, say to like normal people who didn't, I was going to say normal people who didn't play the game, like,
normal, but yes.
Normal people, like, you pick the hardest test you've ever done and then do it every Saturday and have 1.5 million people correct it as it's happening, like, you know what I mean?
And then now can write to you personally. And tell you how shit you are,
And if you have 2 or 3 shit ones, you get fired, like, you know what I mean? So that's the kind of gap. I used to say that to people as a bit of crack, like, but it's not far off, like.
Yeah. Did you grow to love it? And will you miss that extraordinary 24 hours before a big game? Or are you really happy to have put it in a box?
Oh, no, I won't miss that moment. No, I won't miss the lead up to it. I'll miss the game. I love the competitive nature and the competitive side of rugby. And I loved the crack, like, I loved the dressing room afterwards. I loved during the week. I loved training. I loved rugby training. I loved hanging around with the lads. I loved that side of rugby. And the crack side of it, like, there's nothing better than it, to be fair. So I definitely won't miss the 24 hours before a game. It was utter torture for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he lead the crack, or was he one of those that sort of nicked your kidneys when you weren't looking?
I didn't lead the crack, but I loved.
You knew where you needed to be.
Being led.
If you could make,
he led all week.
Yeah.
So
if you could make Peter laugh, then you're on to a win. Do you know what I mean? Because he's quite serious. Like, not serious, but he's got a serious demeanour. But I remember the only time I ever saw like a completely different side of him was there used to be a tradition on the Lions, or maybe it was Ireland. It used to beat the fuck out of the Kitman the night before a game, and I didn't understand it. And I'd come in there, and Pete, it was like very composed, very like straight shooter, would laugh at the jokes and be part of it, but just very professional and well-rounded, like a leader. But then he'd be in there drinking that fucking tea that you all love. Was it Barry? Is it Barry's tea? And then he'd just go mental and be like fucking filling in Rala. Rala was in like a tackle suit with a helmet on, with Nerf guns, trying to repel borders. He was like trashing, smashing the whole place up. And it was like utter carnage. And then he would just be like, thank you, and then just leave. I was like, what the hell? Like, it was mad. It just made no sense. It was like someone that you know is just being real normal. Tips the table, like, throws everything in, fills the guy, and then just goes, all the best, see you later. Then just goes to bed. Where did that come from?
It was a tradition from way before we started. The lads used to come up to Rala's room. From what I can remember, they used to come up like for a couple of pints and chill out
Friday
before
night.
a game. Yeah.
He's a good man, Raleigh.
And then it went to kind of like pizzas and Coke the night before a game. And then it kind of got to professional side of the game, and it was come up, do your boots, get your socks and shorts, clean your boots. There'd be a few jellies there, and we'd have a cup of tea. You know what I mean? But Rala loved the crack, like, so, like, we do stuff like we'd sellotape his phone, wallet, keys, everything to the ceiling, or he'd come in and all the beds would be stacked up, like, or you know what I mean, we'd remove, or we'd like strap him into the trolleys for the stuff. Like, there was one year the hotels were busy, like, even with the Lions, like, remember like the Lions hotels were mental, and we just roll them into a foyer, like, then people would be like, and we'd be looking around like they wouldn't have a clue, like they'd be out to call the guards, like, but he loved it. And we loved it as well, because it was kind of an hour and a half where you'd probably be wound up if you weren't in there.
Yeah.
But we were in there having the crack, and it kind of was a bit of a stress reliever. But I do remember going in with the Lions lads, and the first, and obviously with midweek, so this was happening to him twice a week now at this point. So, and we go in there, and I remember the first time they were all like, "This is ridiculous. This old man is getting absolutely harassed." Like, you know what I mean? And then by the end of it, I came in and I was, "Come on, lads, we go to Rala's room." And I came in, and as I was coming in, Hasters took a stack of plates that were in there and just smashed them all in stack in the ground. I said, "You weren't long changing your tune, my friend." You know what I mean?
I just got involved. I saw you down. I'm in.
We can't join him. Join him.
But it's always
Looters and rioters. I'll take a bit of that.
But there was one time where Rala built. It was like he built a wall out of tackle shields and was behind it in a tackle suit with a helmet. It was like John McClane out of Die Hard. It was like behind people fucking things at him. He was trying to shoot back with like Nerf guns and throwing stuff back. It was like repelling borders. I think someone just then stormed it and flattened him.
Elite sport in a nutshell, right there.
He used to, like, the Shelburne Hotel where we stay, like, he'd arrive and, like, the kitman obviously is an unmerciful amount of kit, obviously, but goes with the territory. And he'd arrive to Shelburne and the staff would come out with a silver tray with his hot chocolate and he'd have a cigarette leaning on the van and they'd open the door and they'd just take everything out and set everything up for him. So he was the most loved, endeared character of all time. You know what I mean? Anybody would do anything for Alice. So, like, we'd have the place and shit and he'd literally ring the staff and they'd all come up and just sort it out. Really put it back from him and he'd get into his lovely bed and go to sleep. Like, he'd do nothing, like, with regard to actual manual labour. Like, you know what I mean?
Kitman, the one thing that by definition is to give out kit. They don't give out kit. Like if you ask a kit man for kit, it's like you've shit on his Christmas present. You want kit? Yeah, that's your fucking job. No, you can't have it.
It's neatly folded. I don't want to give you it.
I was like the kit. We had a kit man at England. I can't remember his name now. The old, obviously, Reg was the old kit man.
Yeah.
He ran a tight ship again, wouldn't give anything out. This new kit man, when Dylan and I came in, I remember we opened the van. We want some cycling shorts, and he'd only been there a couple of days. He went to get them, and he went, "No, only one pair." And we were like, "Fuck off, mate! We'll knock me out and stuff you in the back of the van." Like Jamie Jones was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "It's kit. We're taking it. We're running the side now," because he was new. We could got him. He had no like authority. So he used to shut up and get in the fucking van. We're taking the kit. So we used to rob all of it. But that was, otherwise, if you don't get in, because normally teams inherit kit men, so they are on a pedestal.
Yeah.
But if you get one box fresh, absolutely bully the hell out of him. Very funny.
We used to monitor Rala's weight, but he used to have this kind of gold watch that he had, but it was just a set size. It wasn't like one. You know what I mean? You'd adjust the strap. And like it would depend on how many fingers we could get in. So like at the start of the campaign, it would be loose enough. And he'd be doing absolutely fuck all. So by the end of it, like it would be clumped to him, like, you know what I mean? It'd be, "Rala, you want to go handy on the Grove kid?"
Cult figures, cult figure of Irish rugby.
Does he do the lines this year?
No, he does. He I think he still does some tours of the Aviva, which he has made for, obviously he takes people in and tells them where people sat and stories about people. He'd be built for
great man. Great man. So we said 113 caps, 5 Six Nations championships, 2 Grand Slams, and very much part of an Ireland team that began to deliver after years of kind of, I'm thinking sort of 80s, 90s, where it was a bit all over the place. When you look back now at everything you achieved in that green jersey, did it surpass the expectations of a young boy who had Munster pictures and Ireland pictures on his wall? Or when you stepped into it, did you think, this is where I belong and I'm ready to do what is needed to be done?
No, I think it surpassed my expectation. You know, again, I grew up, you know, I remember, you know, Drico scoring a hat-trick in Paris. You know, I would have been a fan back then, but that was a rare occasion for Ireland to beat France, not to mind away from home. And even my first Six Nations, excuse me, we came 5th. I ended up playing 60 minutes on the wing against Italy in the last game of the tournament. Like, it was Declan Kidney's last game, and you know, if you had said to me that day what you just listed off, I'd have said you were full of shit. You know what I mean? And then obviously Joe came in, and we won back-to-back Six Nations the following 2 years, and you know, I think Joe really set the kind of foundation of what's in Irish rugby now. Even still at this point, I think he changed between what he did with Leinster and then what he did with us. I think he changed the kind of outlook of Irish rugby, I think.
Did you feel that change at the time?
Yeah, I did. He obviously Leinster were getting incredibly successful at that point, and you know, we were always very inquisitive. What's going on there? Like, you know what I mean? Like they couldn't break them down. They were breaking teams down for fun, and then I remember after a few weeks, I remember sitting with Paulie, like we were obviously still playing with Munster, and he was like, "This all makes sense now, doesn't it?" You know what I mean? And then, but the problem was we were going back to Munster saying, "We this is what we have to do," and then, Axel and the guys were going, "Well, that's not what we want to do. That's not what we've come up with." Like, so we were kind of having this bit of battle with them, but we saw straight away, like, his foundation of the game, the basics that he depends on, that he instills in teams, the ruck speed. Like we had the fastest ruck speed for about 5 or 6 years in a row of any team in the world, and that was just purely habits and what we did every day of the week. So yeah, he just changed the outlook of what training even meant to me. Like it was, he gave me the kind of foundation of my game that stood to me till the day I finished. How to be a proper professional, what really matters in the game, like from my point of view, and then the rest of it you can add on.
Yeah, I'm sort of whipped through the years, but 2014 was obviously the Brian O'Driscoll farewell. You won 22-20 in Paris to clinch the title. 2015 was Super Saturday. It was an extraordinary day. You beat Scotland 40-10, and then had to wait nervously as England played against France 55-35. That was a mad game at Twickenham, but you ended up winning the title. 2017, you stopped Haas going back-to-back with Grand Slams. Was that the game where you came in at the last?
That was the one with Jamie.
Yeah.
Jamie's back. Yeah.
I was going to sort of say you always felt as a player watching you that you always had something to prove. Do you remember days like that where it's like, right, Pete, you're now playing, and how quickly you could find yourself to the level you needed to be at?
I never really thought of it consciously. It was just, it's a nice way to be, because you're slightly, I know you're still in the 23 when you're on the bench, but it's not the same. Like, you don't have, I never felt the same pressure as starting. So literally that was like coming down the tunnel after the warm-up. He's struggling, you're in, like, so it kind of, I didn't have the stress, and then it was just, and then you've 10 minutes to worry about and you're into it. So there was no real thinking about it.
If you could relive your career, that's the way you do it.
Yeah. Keep naming me on the bench and throwing you. You figure it out after a while.
He's injured again.
Yeah.
I think you'd cotton on pretty quickly. That was what happened, and you start worrying about we'd have to reverse you and start you, and then
so it was a nice way to be put into it. But from that moment, you're just looking to get stuck in. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's like you're consciously going around. I need to prove a point. Like, no, I was just back from injury. So that was probably more of the thought process I had than anything. My ACL, and I was back from that, and
that was a year out for you.
That was 12 months. I was out. Yeah, I was. Yeah,
you must be like a bear with a sore head, weren't you? With that, or were you,
garden looked impeccable.
Military,
immaculate. Yeah. I was still young, and it was a tough 12 months.
Yeah.
I remember my S&C coach at the time, Aidan O'Connell. It wasn't a beer mat. He pulled out a bit of paper, like, but it wasn't far off, and he just did this kind of diet, like it was like, a heartbeat kind of graph, whatever you call them, like. And it was ups and downs, like, and he was like, "That's what you're not going to go from here to here, like in a line, like it's all little wins and losses," and it was so true. And I got to that summer, and we were going to South Africa with Ireland, and the Irish coaching team were coming down to UL to see Munster train, and I was still a good bit off, but I was pushing hard to get back. And I remember, they're there. No, I'll go hard today, and I went too hard in a run, and I felt my knee go, like,
really?
Not go, but I felt it.
Made it worse,
So I pulled my patella, and that put me back another kind of 3 months. So that was the end of that. But it was a long 12 months. I'm very grateful for the fact that I had my fair share of injuries, but I was actually quite healthy from that point, 2015 up to 25. I actually didn't. I had no more than a week or two here and there of injuries, which was bizarre given our position. Like,
I was fine up until the last 2 years of my career, really. I was fine. I never really had anything, and then I had my toe, and then I had my ankle, and that was the end of it, really.
Yeah, I kind of had it at the front of my career. I both my shoulders done and my knee, my neck a few times. So,
but you're all right now. You don't grumble
I'm okay
too much?
now. Yeah, I'm okay now. I'm my body's good.
Do you still train?
I'm twice a week now doing. I was going to say, I can't say that.
What were you going to say?
Light weights.
Light weights,
calisthenics. Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Aquarobics, is that what you're going to say?
Running in the water. I was actually, do you know what? I was feeling incredibly well, and I was wrestling with the two lads the other day, and I didn't see one of them. He was up on the bed, and he jumped off, and he hit me right into the rib with his two knees.
Oh.
And he popped my rib, like, and it's still fucking killing me. Like, it was like I was after doing a mile.
I think
chip off the old block by the sound of it. Dark arts.
I think with injuries though, like if you got a plan, like if you have an ACL, you have a plan.
Yeah.
But then you also go, right, what else can I work on? So you can fix a few other issues.
Yeah.
I think I only had one where no one had a plan.
No.
And that was the hardest because no one could tell me when I'd be back. So you weren't training for a specific purpose.
So with your career, every now and then, you put a performance in that would just be unbelievable. Did it feel like that? I always just remember like performance on 2017, and you come off and go, oh, who's played well, or someone's done this, and it would be Peter O'Mahony's done this. You know what I mean? You'd hear that a lot. Kind of. I don't know. Which the reason it sticks in my mind is because people talk about lots of things. Someone has a good game, but it would be every now and then you'd be like, "There's a seminal." Did you feel like that world class capability, the ability to go and have these moments where you stole X amount of line outs, you dominated, got a number of turnovers, you've done that stuff and really kind of put those shifts in?
Yeah, I think I wasn't not conscious about it, but I loved big games. What I mean? I loved the thought of there being a lot at stake. Sometimes I got bored of going away to, in the URC for a middle of the road, you know what I mean? Whereas I loved, there'd been something on the line the last week of the Six Nations or something to really hang your hat on and chase. I love those occasions, big days in the Aviv, or, I loved going down to New Zealand that year, 22, and that was probably the greatest few weeks, of my rugby career. I've been down there and doing that for the first time. So I always embraced and loved the challenge of big occasions.
Have you seen Sam Cane since 2022?
I was on the Brabus with him a couple of months ago. Yeah.
How was that?
Some fella.
How was that?
It's funny how you actually meet
who put
fellas.
the hand out first in that? How are you?
The Babas were trying to get us to do me bring him in a cup of tea thing on social media. I was there, jog on. That's but it's funny, I came in and you were laughing at me. I said, how was the form when I came in?
Yeah.
So I met him and I said, how was the form? And I met him the next day. It was after training, we're on the bus, and he was there. I've just figured out, I thought you were asking me how the farm was. So I went on to ChatGPT last night and asked it Irish phrases, how's the farm? And it kind of said to him, no, you've got it wrong. It's how's the form is what he asked you. So he was like, do I give him the amount of cattle I have? What does he want to know from the farm? You know what I mean?
It's a niche answer if you actually own a farm.
Yeah. So, that was the problem. He has a farm, so he was there. I don't know how to answer this fella. You know what I mean? What sort of a...
Well, actually, they've bred really well this year.
But you'd be thinking, why the fuck's he boring me about how many head of cattle he's got, what tractor he's got?
So that was the thing then. How's the farm was the thing in the battles, yeah.
Was it a genuine... Did you actually say something to him?
We were mounting off.
But this is the thing that people make a big deal out of everything. It's never a big deal. You say whatever you want on the field.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, and there's no problem.
But some catch fire, and you're just a shit. Richie McCaw caught fire.
That's just the TV cameras picking stuff up. That back in the day, there was probably much wittier stuff said. Yeah. It's actually a shit gag when you think about it, because he was the greatest player of all time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could be 9.5 out of 10 and still be shit version of him. So it's actually a shit gag.
Yeah. But did you get on with him? We
got on great. He's so
I don't think
every room play gets on.
You struggle to
there's a few fucking Egypts in the game.
Actually, I know you wouldn't name them now, we're not on the podcast, but someone actually said that to me, the cliche answer, you're sitting next to a pothole and the first thing they ask is, who's your favourite teammate, who's the biggest dick? And I was thinking, do you know what? You'd have to go some way if someone said something to me in a game, and me take that seriously. The only thing I ever draw the line at, someone eye gouged me. There was a few people that eye gouged me and stuff. That for me was that's fucking just not play on. But the other bit about the kind of the chat, you could say whatever you want, but you would. And then we went into the Barbarians together. When we went in the Lions, I was eager to meet all these guys that I'd played against. It was much more of an excitement to actually know them than this is my competition, I want to be weird. I was I want to know, what's it like? I've played against them for years, I've never really had a chat. I know what they're going to think of me. because I can see the body language way, but I want to know what they're like. And so I was more excited by that. But you'd have to go weird for someone to have a bit of beef and then take it off. It's only when...
I mean, there's always going to be, when you're in a competitive game, you're going to say something to try and get underneath.
Yeah.
Coming off, let's say, the Ryder Cup this weekend and what like Rory and Shane had to go through.
Yeah.
You get everyone's going, that was the worst crowd I've ever seen. But yet the whole lead up to this is going to be, how bad is this crowd going to be? They knew it was coming, and then when it got there, you can't be surprised by it. Now, what the crowd didn't figure out was that was the best way of spurring on like Rory and Shane.
Yeah.
So, fucking the way he turns around. I loved it, the fact that the athletes could turn around and go, fuck off to the crowd.
You bring that to 360?
Yeah.
Just quickly talking Ryder Cup, you're quite good mates with Shane Lowry, aren't you?
Yeah. He the management company that we were with used to look after Shane, so we were I'd be close enough.
You delighted for him?
Yeah, I'd like for him. Yeah. It's great the way it worked out. Obviously, with him putting as class, and the Ryder Cup property means a lot to him.
Yeah.
I'd often say you could properly see him fitting into a team sport somewhere. You know what I mean? He loves the crack and the camaraderie of it all, and from what you hear, he's quite a leader for the whole thing with the way he speaks to the group and that kind of thing. So I was delighted for him and Wendy and the
Are you any good at golf?
No.
Play golf?
Temperament.
But
I played golf.
He'd be wonderful on the greens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's difficult to putt with a boner because how perfect the lawn is.
Yeah. Can't take any divots.
Can't putt past the dip guard. Pete, no, look at the lines. Oh, God.
I just can't make it go straight.
Good quality content. That's what the people came for. Very good putt. Could work on the celebration. That was not harmonious.
But at the same time, massively endearing because it was just a genuine.
Yeah. It was proper
calamity.
It wasn't. It's not planned. It's just excitement.
Exactly. Well done, Team Europe. Interesting. You were talking about barbarians. So we'll bring in our very good friends at Remy Martin, VSOP, who are the official cognac of the good, the bad, and the rugby. We've got some brilliant new content that's coming out soon. So do check out Jack Knowles' Exile story on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I caught up with Jack at the house of Remy Martin in Cognac this summer, not too far from La Rochelle. We reminisce about playing for England and reflect on Jack's exceptional career moments with a glass of Remy Martin VSOP cognac.
Remy Martin have also teamed up with the Barbarians as their official cognac partner. We have some more exciting things to tell you about in the coming weeks, so please watch this space.
You mentioned you played for them, won that famous black and white. What was the Barbars experience relative to everything else that you had in your career?
It was like going back to playing club rugby. You know what I mean? When I first came out of school, going to my home club in Cannes, and almost amateur. Like it is kind of an amateur group, filled with people who were being paid to play the game, and some of the greats of the game. But that proper back to the roots of the crack and the kind of camaraderie and friendships that you make from it. I loved it. It was always something. There was players in my club who hadn't played for Munster or Ireland that much, but had played for the Babas, and it was like, it wasn't up there with the Lions, but it was up that kind of allure of he's played for the Babas, like. So it was always something that was on my radar and very special. It's delighted to be able to have the jersey hanging up in the wardrobe.
Yeah. We will follow the Barbars a lot more throughout the course of this season. A reminder, the Barbarians and Remy Martin VSOP is a partnership which is set to deliver exceptional moments. Please enjoy responsibly. To round off your Ireland sort of career, you've spoken very eloquently about Rassie, Schmidt, Axel. Tell us about working with Andy Farrell.
Yeah, obviously he was under Joe for a while with our defence, and he was a very inspirational character. Hard man. And he's kind of an alpha male. You know when he walks into a room like that, he's there. And
I know about that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. But when he became our head coach, the dynamic changed a lot, and he took us to a different level with regard to the understanding of our game. Is the main thing that I would say. Why you're doing it, and the understanding of why you're doing it means you'll do it a lot better. It's not just I want you to do this and it'll work. This is why we're doing it. This is why we're trying to figure this out. And it was a real kind of a light bulb moment for me, to really chase down, the understanding of rugby and why we're about what we're looking to achieve out of this. And he was also a great man to set proper, we're going after this, like we're going after this in New Zealand, like, the mind down the line. This is the last time we're going to New Zealand. It's the last time there's going to be a 3-state series of all time. And we've the biggest opportunity, you know what I mean? The Everest of rugby. So he set scenes. He's the only man I've had as a coach who just knows exactly what to say in a room at any given moment, he knows when to pivot. He knows how to pull on your emotional strings. He knows how to deliver technical review. Like he's the complete coach for me at the moment.
Someone described him as he was obviously always a very good coach, very much like an alpha male, very much a leader, a great orator. But his progression was he learned how to feel exactly what you like in terms of like the mood, the tone, the understanding, and really understand players and the people. And that for me, I think is the art of real leadership is if you have that feel for what they need at the right time and what people need and how to speak to individuals.
He's always been like, obviously I played in the centres with him a bit when he first flipped over. But I say this generally about all leagueies. Whereas rugby's sometimes a little bit dour. You always look at Sappuccino and you always go the other way. They completely flip it and go positive. Like every situation, how good is it? How good is this situation? How good is this? How good is this, lads?
Paul Street. How good is chips? How good are chips?
Gritty.
How good are chips?
And I think he's always had that ability to deliver that, as you said, in the right way, and it always works. But Ashley was generally always positive. Go. Sean was like, lads, we can fucking do this. And he sort of go, yeah, we can.
You obviously won a Grand Slam with Andy in 2023, and then won it again in 2024. You were skipper for that, of course. Tell me about finishing up this year, though. And there were some very, very nice moments for you and Cian and Connor. Do you feel very fortunate that you've been able to close the chapter, you sort of touched on it earlier, in the way that you wanted, as opposed to sort of leaving via the back door with a...
Yeah, very fortunate. As I said, it's not very often like you get a chance to do that, and to do it with Connor and Cian was great, because sometimes I would imagine it's we had played a lot of times in our own rights, so it would have been kind of pressure on a little bit. Oh, it's his last, but it's you know what I mean. The fact that the three of us were able to do it together, it took a lot of pressure off. At the same time, it was actually really enjoyable. You know what I mean? Our family spend time together. It was a nice thing to be able to do, and to go out, winning a championship. It was.
Are you a nostalgic person? I mean, do you remember sitting in the changing room at the Aviva, closing your boot bag for the last time, and thinking that was something special, or did it just sort of fall away?
No, we lost to France. Obviously, it was a tough one, but I was very lucky that I had made the decision the year before to continue. You know what I mean? If I hadn't made that one, I spoke about earlier, but to win at 24 was really important to me. But then you were able to kind of tick off all the, this is the last time I'm playing here. You know what I mean? Whereas it would have been a lot of that stuff is behind me now, is done. Whereas I had my last time in Thome Park, last time in Musgrave Park, last time in the Aviva, last time I had loads of these last to take off that I could do myself, which was which great kind of put me at ease a bit, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It is such a long and it's such a glorious career. A couple of rocks under the beach towel potentially. If I said to you Rugby World Cups, you say,
fuck. It's unfortunate. Has become a bit of a monkey for us.
Which is the one you think of first?
23 straight off. Just didn't play well enough in that game, unfortunately, and we had more than enough chances to take. But it's not like there's a trend. 15 we had 8 of our kind of mainstream guys who were injured. 19 we got it wrong, in my opinion. We got lots of stuff wrong on that one,
such as
our pre-season was way off, I thought. We some of the stuff we did was mad, and
Like what kind of thing?
The day we arrived, our first session was supposed to be kind of a 6 out of 10, and it was a 14 out of 10. Like, you know what I mean? Try to murder each other.
Yes.
And it was like a skill session, like, you know.
Was that?
That kind of set the tone.
Yeah, first day, one of our World Cup camp, we had 6 sessions in the day, and we were on 25k, and it was like, we've got 8 weeks. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
They just go mad sometimes.
Go mental, yeah. They have 4 years to, like, they don't have you for 4 years,
No.
so obviously we got that wrong. So 19, you know, so it's not like we have this train of like, this fucks us every year, but unfortunately, no, it's a quarter-final thing, and I'm hoping that I'll be there someday to see them get into a semi-final and beyond. You know, it's a hard thing to do. You know what I mean? You know, it's going to be hard to get to semi-final, but we'll see. Fingers crossed for them.
And Lions.
Yeah, we had a great trip. Yeah,
Fun, wasn't it?
yeah, it was good fun.
Do you compartmentalise the pride from the first test?
I do, yeah. Hugely proud of captain in the Lions, like playing in a test match. You know, disappointed with the way I performed myself, which is the overriding feeling from the game itself, but didn't take away from the fact that you captained the Lions. There was a lot more went under that than 80 minutes. You know, there was a lot of you know, good training, good rugby, good crack went in before that. That doesn't all render that a non-event because you don't get picked the following week. So I'm very proud of having represented that group.
I remember, well, actually, Tom dug it out. Brian O'Driscoll had a dig at Gatland on Twitter. They've obviously got their own history, but there has to be someone to point the finger at in defeat, he said with reference to you. Did you ever square it away, the decision with
I didn't
Gatland?
have a huge relationship with Gats. Gats kind of, he wasn't around the group a huge amount, like, you know. I would have been a lot more closer to Steve Borthwick on that tour than anyone else. Andy, obviously. But, you know, Gats gets the group together and kind of stays in the background a bit. So I was delighted for him to ask me the first couple of weeks, and then, you know, was kind of a bit taken aback. But, you know, he's got to make his calls. He's the boss.
What a way to have like a higher captaining, lower getting dropped, and then walking into a garden shed with me.
Yeah. Literally a garden shed.
Like, come on in, and just nestle in. Here's a Peroni. Here's a pizza. It'll be okay.
It'll be okay. Did you watch this summer, the Lions, under Andy?
I did. Yeah.
What did you make of it all?
I wasn't shocked that they were very impressive, you know. Some incredible performances. I was delighted for Tyburn.
Yeah.
You know, a guy who was under pressure and would have said it himself, but, you know, he's a man for, you know, talk about a man for big occasions. That guy is some man to play big, and he's played a lot of rugby. My God. You know, talk about Ireland looking after players. I think he slipped through the cracks a couple of times because he plays some amount of rugby minutes. So I was thrilled to bits for him. But like, I'm surprised they didn't win a little bit easier, to be honest. If I was going to be, you know, after the first test, I kind of said, I don't know, will I bother watching the rest of it?
Yeah.
But look, I'm glad that it was made a series of, you know what I mean? I'm glad they came back at the end, because the Lions is important, like, regardless of what happens and results, you know, and the Lions kind of shouldn't work in bizarre ways. You know, you shouldn't go down to some of these teams and win it all, having to come together a few weeks beforehand. But it's such a brilliant entity, and it's so special that it needs to be continued. And I'm glad that it was competitive in the end.
Yeah. A lot of fun. Well done, the Lions.
Yeah.
It has been really, really nice to have you on. Thank you so much for coming over. It's almost a sort of personal question, last but not least. We had Johnny on, who's obviously done his book, had a lot to say. We've had Conor Murray on, again, done a book with a lot to say. When you look back now in your career, what has your relationship been like with the media? I've from a personal perspective, I've had sort of, what it was, 6-7 years covering Pro 12. We were always massively frustrated as a broadcaster that we were never able to get access to some of the stars of Irish rugby. And I've dug out the Harry McNulty quote, who's obviously an Ireland 7-star. The IRFU run an extremely tight ship and only release what's deemed necessary, and always ensure it's to maintain their image and push the reader in the desired direction. It goes on to say, normal behaviour for a massive company. For players, it's in your contract. You can't post on social media the night before a game, all the way through to the following day after a play, even if it's for your own benefit or that of the IRFU. all media requests must come through the media team, and if a player's contracted outright, the RFU make it very difficult for that reporter or organisation to then fill the role and do their job. I ask you the question because this has been a really enjoyable 90 minutes, and as one of the poster boys of Ireland for the last, whatever it is, 15 years or so.
I dream of that kid who's got your picture on the wall. And then...
But I find it frustrating that it's not until you hang up your boots and not until Johnny hangs up his boots and not until Connor says that's me done, that we really get to see you and hear your genuine views of the game. Were you somebody who said, I don't need it, it's not part of my remit as a player?
I've a lot of answers to that, you know, and there was lots of reasons for it.
I think I've got lots of. I'm not going to give them.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not outside the window. Sorry.
Well, yes. Sorry.
But it's a genuine question.
No, and you know, I suppose stepping away from it, you see the benefit of it. But when you're in it, there was certainly there are a few have are an entity, and they need to steer the ship in the direction that they need to go. And I don't have any control over that. You know, Harry's McNulty's quotes, like, I mean, why would you want to be posting 24 hours before a game? Like, I don't get that either.
I think that was because the Sevens was disbanded and he felt that there wasn't a position for them.
I understand that, but I mean, I just...
We wouldn't want to be posting
so
for
you're
a game.
talking about
the mentality of, I want to post something.
Yeah.
Fucking, you have a game tomorrow, kid. No, that's different. And then you have the kind of protection of the group, like, so, like, we'd have protected of each other, like, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to explain, but when you're in it, like, why am I... My biggest fear ever, because I took it the other way around a few times, was that I'd fuel anyone else. Like, the amount of times that I went into a Scottish game with stuff printed off on the back of my bedroom door for the week of stuff they said.
It's a busy wall you've got going on.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, that was these were different ones. But, like, why would you give someone fuel? Like, that was always something I was very worried about.
But I do think, particularly with Ireland, we never really ever saw the real personalities of the guys, because you know, I remember talking to Shawnee about stuff, and he was like, no, don't let, you know, sometimes they don't put me up, but they wouldn't let him anywhere near it because, you know, he just couldn't be trusted. Liability. But it was, I always thought it was Joe Schmidt was quite controlled by that media stuff.
He would have been very, very controlling, and it was always like, if there was an issue or we lost, it was always put O'Mahony out, because I kind of said nothing, you know what I mean? I didn't answer any questions, but I didn't kind of get carried away, or I didn't get flustered. So it was, you know what I mean? I'd say they were blue in the face from seeing me, but you couldn't put Bundy Aki out, you know what I mean? Because God only knows what he'd come out with. Or
they used to do that. They used to do it with England, the same thing. They were like, right, we put me up on media, like, because we just wanted to detract to say something, or like Eddie would go, oh, you're going to talk about Ireland, but you're not allowed to talk about Ireland.
Yeah.
And go and do that.
Yeah.
And they were like, what do you think about the Irish people? Like, well, this week we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about this? I'm like, well, they're obviously great, but and they were like, the media were like, what are you doing? Eddie'd come and go, good, mate. He'd sit in there going, good, and then he'd go, right, here's a protein shake, well done.
Yeah.
Pat on the head.
There's other guys who struggled with it and who would prefer not to. You know what I mean? They already have a stress in the week, and it would be an added stress. Like, so they'll say to the guys, unless they're obliged to, like, would you mind leaving me off the roster because I struggle with it, you know? And that
is some of the problem with it, is that is how unions or whatever make you feel about it. Whereas it should be just go say whatever you want. Who gives a shit? Because how much does it actually affect if you go, oh, you said this, let's put that up on the wall. Okay, what, you haven't got enough reasons to go out there and win anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
or say to the player, what do you want to do? And it might be that Shawnee wants to talk to Farmers Times, and he can talk tractors and rucking, and you know, Marcus wants to go and do GQ or whatever it might be.
You were on the front cover of a magazine, weren't you?
I was, yeah. He asked me to bring it over. I was there.
You're like, I've hardly got any copies. There's like 85 in the bedroom.
They're all wallpaper.
What was it? Front page of what?
And a kind of an Irish country magazine. Myself and my wife.
Are you drifting into the world of the influencer?
Yeah.
Well, like,
you're influential.
I am in. Yeah, when it comes to that kind of side of things, I walked through Dublin the other day, and 6 people stopped me, and 6 of them had gardening questions. Like, I was there. Oh, the All Blacks played South Africa about 12 hours ago. Any chance you question about that?
Yeah.
No, I prefer that.
So now I'm the gardener. I'm not the gardener. You know what I mean?
The Monty Don of Limerick.
Do you find out gardening brands would get involved? Like, if you ever like still like chainsaws or people like that, or like which mowing brand, which lawnmower do you want?
It's already got a partnership with them.
Yeah, I have a few.
What's the name of it? Company?
well, I've all the stuff that I've ever bought, I've had Honda engines because I love their reliability.
Honda, friend of the show.
Honda, the friend of the show. Can I tell you what I love?
3 quick questions to finish. The good, the bad, and the rugby. The good. Best mate in the game?
Whoa, I have a lot of them.
Best team you played in?
Stephen Archer. I travelled up and down to Limerick with Stephen Archer for the best part of 15 years. So, I've an amount of people, Murray's, Sextons, Earls's, you name it, the amount of people that I'm very lucky to call close friends, but Archie would, he'd know the deepest and darkest thoughts of O'Mahony. So, yeah, we've travelled together for a long time. Yeah.
There's a killer's handbook in there.
It's like an
He's currently
entity.
missing.
His alter ego is Armani, who's the inside of Marnie. Pete, is absolutely fine, but the inside workings of Armani. Well, fuck knows what that is. Do you reckon he just if he opens his mouth, he just screams. Like,
yeah. You would not. This would not have been a very good motorway duo. This two here. That's been dead in the late.
We got on fine.
Yeah,
before we talked.
But again, I'm always,
from a distance.
Again,
for a short period.
No, it's all those people. People always go, I wonder what you get on with them, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, I always try and get on with everyone, and I always just. I'm a bit of an acquired taste where I always give everyone an opportunity. We always got on. I don't think there's many people I don't get on with.
What was your impression of him when you heard he was going to be called up?
I was there. Oh, here we go. Like, this fella's going to be a handful here. But I was very impressed. Like, there was days in the bus where you were you were driving the mic, obviously, with Joe. Like, we had the greatest crack ever. And there was days then you got on and you were working away in the laptop. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like you're on flat out, which I thought you were. You're very kind of balanced, which sounds mental for you. Like,
I know. That was what people, I remember I shared a room with Simon Shaw once, and I was on there working, and he was like, he sat on the edge of the bed and went, "Go on then." I went, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Entertain me." He goes, "I asked to share a room with you." Right. And I was like, "Sorry, what do you mean? I got work to." He's like, "This is not what I signed up for." He got the fucking half and went out, and I didn't share a room with him again. He wanted to wind me out because everyone thinks it's like that, that sad clown thing that when you got a crowd, you're like, you have to perform because you need it. But I'm actually a bit alone. Like, I quite enjoy my own time. So when so you kind of get that nice.
Sometimes
balance.
we wish you'd enjoy it.
Yeah. Something
The bad. Tom's asked the nastiest player you played against.
I love the way you've deflated that to Snack.
This is not my section.
Yeah.
the nastiest player.
Was there one when you saw a name on the team sheet you thought this is on?
Oh, there was plenty of them.
Someone French, someone Kiwi.
Jerry Collins played for Marty Holla, played in the back row for Ospreys. They were a nasty back row back then. You're going over to Wales and it was torture.
Was it Philo Tia, Jerry Collins and Marty Holla?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's about right.
But they were probably well up there. Yeah.
I heard a great story that Shane Williams was saying that he had a testimonial game. He got a Philo Tia to play him, and he basically stepped him and went round him, and he gave him a bit of ribbings. He came back with unlucky boss, and he goes, "I don't want a murder on my hands." And just looked at him deadly serious. And he goes, "I don't want a death today, right?" And Shane was like, "What the fuck?" Anyway, he came off the field, and all the other guys were calling him King. All the brothers were calling him King, and he was like, "Fucking hell, why is he calling him King?" So he went up to goes, "Why does everyone call you King?" He goes, "Because I tell them to." It's like, fucking hell. Okay, boss, I'm fine.
Last but not least, the rugby. The best player you played with or against? First person you'd put on your team sheet.
Again, it's very hard for me to pick. Look at Murray's and Sextons. I was lucky enough to play with Dricko. So it would be very hard to pick
one of those.
But I think O'Connell had the biggest impact on me and my career. You know what I mean? If I had to pick one
because,
well, I mean, he was the skipper, he was the leader, he was from where I was from, and I looked up to him from long before he got to where he got to. You know what I mean? He was always very influential for me. So if I was to pick one, it would be him.
Good choice. You were a hell of a team. a hell of a player. It's been a real privilege to have you on. Just before we finish, do you want to do the honours with
Yes,
one of
do.
those?
Yeah, I was
Do the
worried.
deep
I was
reach?
worried that we're giving him a sign bottle. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
he
well, we
doesn't
can
want one of
substitute
those.
it out. We've got an unsigned
So
one.
basically, we've got our own gin.
Oh, very good.
You don't have to sign one. I mean, if you want more scotch,
I'll take
you
the
can.
sign.
But, it's we basically got our own gin. It goes with a very nice Mediterranean tonic.
Thank you very much.
So, and you'll love
We've
it.
actually spoken to you about it in the past.
Yeah.
We should
We
pick up that
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
we?
yeah.
Now he's
No, it's
rather
free.
more expensive. Now,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
so-
It'll clean your stones up a treat as well on the garden path if you've got any problem with that. Will you come back in the autumn? We've obviously got massive autumn of rugby. Come back for some European.
If you want me
And,
to come back, no
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
We just need some actual rugby knowledge and some focus from someone who's not too out of the game because
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck's going on.
no,
Tins off trying to destroy rugby and
my career's back on the bonfire. No, exactly.
So it's,
hopefully see you in a few months' time. Thank
Yeah,
you
yeah,
so much
absolutely,
for
yeah.
coming on.
Forward.
What a brilliant way to start season 6 of The Good, the Bad and the Rugby. Thank you as always to our sponsors, Continental Tires. Continental Tires are the sponsors of the Continental Tire Schools Cup, driving the next generation from the ground up, and we will be out and about in that competition throughout the course of this season. We're a Good Bad Media production. This episode was produced by Tom Edwards. It is great to be back. We'll see you next week, but from all of us, bye for now.
You've been listening to The Good, Yay, The Bad, and The Rugby, Oof, with Alex Payne, James Haskell, and Mike Tindall. Thanks for listening.